to walk into a store like that and be told you can buy anything that you want, everything here is safe for you, is just an unbelievable experience for kids with allergies.
Yeah, because usually they can't be a kid in a candy shop. Right?
Mm-mm. That's the only time he ever really could. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's gratifying.
Welcome to the Don't Feed the Fear podcast, where we dive into the complex world of food allergy anxiety. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Whitehouse, food allergy anxiety psychologist and food allergy mom. Whether you're dealing with allergies yourself or supporting someone who is, join us for an empathetic and informative journey toward food allergy calm and confidence. Welcome to our Valentine's Day episode for Season 3 of Don't Feed the Fear. This winter season, we're talking about expanding and strengthening our support systems and the resources that we have around us. And who, with food allergies, doesn't need to have a company that they can trust for their go-to treats and foods that they enjoy? That's why I've invited Mark Elvidge, co-founder of Vermont Nut-Free Chocolates, to be on the show today. Mark and his wife, Gail, are pioneers in the allergen-free confectionery space, co-founding Vermont Nut-Free Chocolates over 27 years ago. Mark has served as the president and CEO of the company since 2012, and together they transformed their personal need as allergy parents into a thriving brand. They create premium quality chocolates that cater to both allergy-conscious consumers and all chocolate lovers, and the name is a bit deceiving because in addition to being peanut and tree nut free, Vermont Nut-Free Chocolates are also sesame and egg-free. Under his leadership, Vermont Nut-Free Chocolates has built a dedicated long-term customer base within the allergy community. I know we are among that, and many of you listeners here today are as well. Thank you so much for coming to join me, Mark. I'm really excited. I've been a customer for over a decade now, and it's nice to meet you and have you here on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. I was doing this season all about building our support systems and who do you need on your team when you're managing allergies. And of course, I was thinking of the different people on your team, but one of the first things that I felt like I had in my back pocket when allergies started for us was a go-to safe treat that I could give our son. That was Vermont Nut-Free Chocolate. So I thought of you, and you've been on my team, even though you didn't know it. I know there's a lot of us out there who feel that way too.
No, that's great. And that's usually how people discover us initially, is through another family member or a child that has an allergy, and they discover us for that reason, and then kind of just start buying the product, and it kind of snowballs into everybody in the household liking it. So it's we're happy to be there for those people that need a solution.
Absolutely. That is what happens. It just becomes the chocolate we buy now because we know it's safe and it's delicious too. So why don't you start by telling our listeners a little bit about you and how you got started with this business?
Yes, I'm the co-founder of Vermont Nut-Free Chocolates. It was actually my wife Gail's idea. She started the company, and I helped her way back in 1998 when we first got going. So we've been doing this now for a little over 27 years. And how we actually had the idea to start the company was she was having an English muffin with some peanut butter on it one Sunday morning, and my then 8-month-old son Tanner was teasing for it. And she just basically put it up to his lips, and he immediately turned red and started screaming and got hives, and and she didn't know what to do, and basically called the pediatrician, and it was a Sunday morning, so it was an on-call. They called back and said, "Oh, I bet you he's allergic to peanuts. Keep him away from peanuts and nuts for a while." And he was 8 months, and they said we can test him at 1 year old, which I'm not sure if today the testing is done at a younger age, but back then, and that was in 90 when he was 8 months old. So we basically kept away from peanuts for a few months, and then had him tested, and he did have a peanut allergy. And we didn't know anybody growing up or any household members or family that had gone through that, so it was all new to us. And so we had to learn a lot about peanut allergies. And again, back then it was kind of not as prevalent, not as much diagnosis. There was basically no food safety departments in companies when you would call and ask about what else they made in that facility or what else was packaged on that same line, or is there any possible cross contacts issue that could cause somebody with a nut allergy or a peanut allergy to have a reaction. So it was kind of pioneering through all of those questions. And answers and lack thereof answers from major manufacturers that led Gail to kind of start making things at home that we could be sure of what was in it for Tanner. And basically the toughest category of product that she found and find that was safe for a peanut allergic consumer was confectionery and chocolate, right? It was the toughest one because most people use peanuts and almonds and hazelnuts and, all kinds of fillings that could cause a problem if you had this allergy. So she made him a bunch of items throughout the 3 or 4 years before we started the company, from when he was a year old till 4 years old. And we would eat it and bring it to parties and family gatherings and give it away as gifts, and people would rave about it. I mean, she was making truffles and caramels and fruit creams and all that stuff that we still offer, but only much smaller kind of home consumption kind of a scale. So one day she came downstairs and said, we should start a nut-free chocolate company. There's got to be, I think she used hundreds of families in the same predicament as we are. And, so I challenged her and said, yeah, let's do it. And so she's the creative one and came up with all of these confections and truffles and things over the years, over the 3 or 4 years that she was just making them for us. And I helped her with the business end of that. So we put up a website and incorporated and started selling nut-free chocolate online in January of 1998. So 1998. And I think the first thing ever sold online, Amanda, on the internet at all was in 94. And it was probably Jeff Bezos, right? Selling a book.
Yeah, you're really ahead of the times with that.
It was really early for being online, and even way earlier for being a free from brand online. So that's what we did. We started online in January of 98, and people would discover us and then go to a support group, and people would, go and say, oh, I discovered this chocolate company in Vermont and they're nut free and peanut free. And the owners have a son who has an allergy to peanuts. And the next day we get 20 calls from Chicago or Philadelphia or Denver or wherever the support group happened to have taken place. So the early days of the business was basically that. It was word of mouth and just organic growth, with people discovering us and then telling, kind of their friends and their families. So it wasn't that long until they would tell their allergists, and then the allergists would kind of talk to us and make sure we were legitimate and knew what we were talking about. The Boston Children's Hospital allergy department was putting our information in already newly diagnosed patient packets as a resource. So that was kind of the start of the company, the why. And we've kind of grown from those early days.
I can see how that would happen so naturally, because I found myself just like Gail, like in the kitchen. Okay, I bought this candy mold. Let me see if I can figure out what to do. And you just figure it out as allergy parents. But that's got to be why so many people trusted you, because we know that you are living it and you understand the level of concern, not just trying to market and use this as a marketing device.
Right. We have a really compelling reason for starting the business and being available to the tens of thousands of customers that now have and regular long-time loyal fan base is, I guess, how I would describe it.
Absolutely. Once you've earned our trust in the allergy world, we're in, right?
Right.
As you expanded, what goes into making sure that you continue to keep that trust? Because anyone outside of our world would say, oh, it's a nut-free facility, so obviously it's fine. But I know there's so much more behind the scenes that goes into ensuring that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes. I mean, everything from sourcing your raw ingredients, right, that you're using in your processes. We make sure that all of those ingredients come from peanut-free and tree-nut-free facilities as well. So there's no possible, kind of cross-contact before we get a raw ingredient. We have a pretty rigorous supplier kind of approval process that we go through before we'll bring in a new ingredient. Many of the ingredients that we use come from like single source suppliers. So like that's all they make, right? They just make this product and that's all they do. And where possible, we buy direct as opposed to through distribution or repacking anything like that. It's pretty key. So our facility obviously is peanut free and tree nut free. Employees are not allowed to bring anything with peanuts or tree nuts, or even the shared equipment warnings that you see on most consumer packaged goods today, processed on shared equipment or made in the same facility as, and that's just prohibited from being in our building or on our premises. For equipment, we've always bought brand new equipment. We don't buy used equipment, right? 'Cause it's just, there's a lot involved to kind of maintain the integrity of our brand, because that's pretty much what we do and why we do it. I think I know we were the first ones to be nut free and peanut free on purpose way back in 98. And we haven't deviated at all. We've always been coconut free. We've always been sesame free. We now, in August, last year, we went egg free as well, which opened up our candy kitchen then to more customers who could enjoy a wider range of our products, as opposed to being kind of siloed into certain things that were in a separate production room from where the egg was and things like that. So again, we're not everything free. We're not top 9 or anything like that, but we do have a very good core range of products that meet the peanut free, tree nut free, coconut free, sesame free, egg free dietary restrictions.
That's great. What about for people who have some of the other allergens that you do have in the facility? I know you do pretzels, so obviously there's wheat.
Yep. We do have 2 production rooms with separate heating systems, and one of the production rooms is completely wheat free. If somebody is celiac or needs to really not have any kind of risk of anything that could have been in close proximity to a pretzel, a wheat pretzel, right, or gluten, then we can steer them to certain products that we have within our facility that are made in a totally separate environment. We have our own kind of crew in that room, and then we have our other crew in our bigger production room that does have the wheat. And again, we're not mixing wheat and baking pretzels, right? Those are coming from a nut-free, peanut-free facility here, and we're placing them on conveyor belts, and they're being enrobed in chocolates. And it's not like we're creating pretzel dust even in the room that has the products that does contain the wheat. Currently, the only thing run on those enrobing lines is the wheat pretzels. So there's no other products that, if there was, obviously would be shared equipment and they contain. But there's some, where there are shared areas, then it is indicated in that room that there could be, trace amounts.
Picturing it the way you're describing helps me to understand why so many of us do have a hard time finding other products, why it probably would be difficult to produce any kind of a chocolate or candy item that doesn't have exposure to any of those other allergens. It seems like it would be really complicated.
Yeah, it is. And again, there's pretty much soy lecithin in everything that we do. And, dairy is a big component of milk, right? And we probably saw 80% milk chocolate to 20% dark. And even the raw ingredients in many cases come to you with a shared dairy equipment warning on it. And as careful as you are when you're producing these items, it's really tough. If it's in a facility, and again, we're extremely diligent because we live this every day. We have a huge customer base that, we can steer to certain products that they've trusted for years. And then many times we'll call up and verify that we haven't changed any processes or the way we do it, or is it still the same, that kind of stuff too. So it's really tough for a big company to claim the free-from status unless they just don't have it in the facility.
Right. Well, that's why we're thankful for you. There's so much stuff and it's all so good. Can you talk a little bit about what some of your best sellers are or what you find people enjoy the most?
Yeah, sure. So we have probably way too many SKUs. We've got milk chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, and then we do a crispy as well. And then all of the filled chocolates like the truffles and the fruit creams and the caramels. The seesaw caramels are a favorite. People love those. Pretzel caramel bark, which is those pretzels with caramel and chocolate kind of all mixed together in a block, is pretty addictive. Hands down, our best selling item is our chocolate covered pretzels. And our chocolate covered pretzels are really, really good. I mean, they're a crisp, crunchy pretzel that's obviously peanut and tree nut free, sesame free. You do have wheat in them, but we coat them with, milk, dark and white, creamy coatings with these rovers that run and give them a chocolate bath, and then they're hand decorated and bagged. And those are our best-selling items. That's where Whole Foods has really taken the milk and dark pretzels and the North Atlantic region, and most recently the Northeast region with Charlotte, Connecticut, and New Jersey, and New York stores as well now have them. And then sun blossoms are an item that we launched a little while ago now, the traditional 2-cup sun blossom, which is like a replacement for like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but it's made with sun butter filling. And again, we bring in the sun butter and we make our filling from that runs through our one-shot depositor. We make these cups and they're flow wrap packaged, and they're really good. And then in January of 2024, we launched a mini version of those. So the mini sun blossoms in milk and dark chocolate, and those are doing extremely well. There's many, many retailers that carry them in addition to our own website.
That's much appreciated that you thought of that one.
Yeah, no, they're doing really well. And then we've got some line extensions planned for those cups as well, some different fillings and things on too. So
okay.
Yeah.
As you mentioned the future, one of the things that always runs through my mind, a lot of us worry that a company like yours that's obviously continued to grow and been so steady, a lot of those companies end up selling to giant corporations and then we lose our faith in them. I'm happy to see that it's still in your hands, original creator and owner. Any changes like that ahead for Vermont Nut Free?
We're looking at scaling a little bit and perhaps bringing on a little bit more additional outside capital to do that. But that's for efficiency and marketing and, getting our distribution pushed out a little bit more so that we're available to more people. But we've been in Vermont for 27 years. We started in our house. We are in our third commercial location now. And this last one that we moved into just outside of Burlington, Vermont, in a town called Colchester is big enough to scale. And we can do 3 to 4 times the volume in this building. So it's what we want to try to capitalize on over the next several years in the future.
That's great. I'm happy to hear it. You're mentioning Vermont. My in-laws live in the Burlington area. As an allergy parent, there's so much, no, you can't have that. We have to check that. Be careful.
Yeah.
Double check, triple check. We had gotten care packages before, but he'd never walked into to shop. To walk into a store like that and be told you can buy anything that you want, everything here is safe for you, is just an unbelievable experience for kids with allergies.
Yeah, because usually they can't be a kid in a candy shop. Right?
That's the only time he ever really could. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's gratifying.
I was wondering what that's like. I mean, obviously, being a parent of a kid with allergies and then being able to do that, not just for your son, but obviously many, many thousands of people.
Yeah, and that's probably the most gratifying aspect of this business, is to just get that feedback and see the pictures that people send us, with the chocolate bunny smeared chin. This is really, really gratifying. And we've got some of those pictures on our website and stuff too, but it's just so makes it all worthwhile, right? To see that.
I would think so. This episode will air on Valentine's Day, and my kids getting their treats ready. I was just thinking your son must have shown up with the best Valentines and the best treats. I'm sure he enjoyed, that luxury that he had, or didn't he really appreciate it, do you think?
Yeah, he did. I think the neat thing is that every year while he was, particularly elementary school, right, when they have the birthday parties and this class celebrations, and Gail provided for the whole class. And it wasn't always just chocolate. I mean, she'd make cupcakes and cookies and just everything got free. But he was popular.
I bet. And that way he's not being left out. He's being even more liked and included because he's the one who brings all that great stuff for everybody.
Yeah, no, that was really cool.
I was curious if, with the focus of your work being on this, does it feel like allergies and allergy awareness runs your life at a certain point when that's your whole business and catering to that market, and your son, is managing his?
So it's a lot of conversations every day about food allergies, and we get calls from parents who, in some cases, I don't even know how they can feed their kids. They have so many to kind of deal with, and it's it's tough and again, we can't be everything to all people. Sometimes I wish some of these parents, we could say, yes, you can have this, but in some cases we can say, we're sorry, we just don't have anything that's suitable.
Right.
So I think the awareness of allergies from where we started, right, when they didn't have any food allergen labeling laws or anything like that, the awareness is more, but there's still a lot. I think I think there's a lot to do in both in the industry, like in the manufacturing and the food business and the general public. I mean, there's still people that have the allergy understand, or any food allergy, right? You understand it if you're living in and you're immersed in it every day. But if you don't have a child or a family member or know somebody with a food allergy, it's kind of an educational process every time you run into somebody with that, right? So we'll do demos in grocery stores locally and in New England. And I get out there as much as I can to try to shake hands and kiss babies and kind of meet the customers at the point where they're kind of deciding what to buy. And many people see the free from label and they're like, oh, we don't want that. We don't, it's not going to be good. It's
Right.
like, no, wait, let me show you.
Let you taste it.
Yeah, exactly. So do the story and tell people about why we exist and what we do. And, oh, by the way, here, try this. And then they end up being a customer and coming back and buying that bag of pretzels or that package of Sun Blossoms or, that chocolate bar or something at some point in the future.
Right.
It's kind of cool when you can actually do that conversion.
Absolutely. Again, I think that speaks to the stereotypes and the misconceptions of allergies, that they just assume if it's allergen free, if it's free of these allergens, something's been removed, but it's chocolate. It's got sugar, it's got cocoa, it's got milk. It's obviously not dairy free, but we have that conception that anything allergy friendly is less than or has been compromised.
Yep. And we like to prove that misconception wrong, that our products are always friendly, or not friendly, but certain allergy friendly, but free of peanut and tree nut and coconut and sesame and egg now. But they also stand up there in taste, flavor, and texture, and can be eaten with, the big brands. And actually, in many cases, we taste better.
Yeah, I was going to say not just the big brands, like the commonplace grocery store name brands, but I would say it's a gourmet level.
It is, yeah. Yeah, gourmet and premium is kind of the category we live in. And then having that free from reason for being is why. But that enables us to sell product to anybody who's a chocolate lover, and also the ones that we were kind of originally created the company for.
As far as other businesses and your corporate experiences in the industry, where do you think there's still room, generally speaking, for growth and for more understanding or education or clearing up skepticism, misinformation, things like that?
So I think you're probably familiar with FAIR,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a council, an alliance of manufacturers in the free from space that meet bi-monthly, and we're trying to come up with some standards in terms of wording and talk about precautionary allergen labeling and also thresholds in terms of testings. And again, I don't claim free from unless we really are. But there's some companies that have rooms or areas that do testing and validation. That's risky, both for the consumer who has to avoid that and the company doing that, right? So we're trying to kind of create some industry standards to kind of model and follow along those lines based on the good practices that those of us that are in the free from and have been for some time are doing.
Well, I imagine, obviously, with any business that it comes down to the bottom line as far as profits, and to do it a certain way must be more expensive, obviously. But is there misbelief, is there doubt in the food industry as a whole that low level of exposure or potential cross-contamination could actually be a problem for people?
I don't know that it's a doubt. And I think it's more it's a smaller percentage of the total addressable market. Right. So if there's 1% of the people that need to be peanut free and 99% of their customer base wants pecan rolls or nut rolls or whatever with stuff all rolled together, and they're going to serve that market, because they weren't started as a free from brand, right? They were that brand and that company, and to create a whole different manufacturing environment with different lines and people, and technically should have a different facility. It's really prohibitive for them to try to change and satisfy the needs of a very, very small percentage of the population.
Right. Yes. Obviously, the number of people with allergies is continually increasing. So I hope that will lead to continued awareness and accommodation, and people understanding that once they get our business, we're loyal. They've got us for life, and it's worth achieving.
Yeah. And again, that is one of the things we're talking about on this Pact Alliance at FAIR is the long-term loyalty that the food allergy consumer exhibits towards a brand that they trust. And that's really immeasurable. And it's just so valuable. I mean, we have customers, Amanda, that discovered us, when their children were 3, 4, and 5 years old, back when we started, right, in the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000 was a big year because we had a People magazine article that came out about us, and that just blew the doors off awareness for us. But many of those customers have grown up on Vermont Nut Free. So every birthday, every holiday, every season, every college cram session for exams, right, sending college gifts and baskets to them from when they moved out on their own. And then in many cases, we've done several bride and groom truffles, the 2-piece truffles with the bride and groom's name on it, from people that are getting married now that were customers when they were 5 years old. So that's really a testament to the long-term value of a customer in this frequent space. We've done not only those wedding favors for people, but then baby shower and then christening and bar mitzvah gifts and things like that too, personalized kind of favors. So third generation coming up on Vermont Nut Free products.
Right. Just following them right through the lifespan.
Yeah.
That's got to be
really, really, really cool.
Yeah, that must just be such an amazing feeling. It seems like a simple thing. And I think people, again, who don't live the life don't realize what does it matter if that kid has a different treat in his classroom or if that kid is left out in some way. But I think it really makes a difference to not feel at all times either scared and nervous and afraid to try something, or to feel that what we're having is less than, or that we have a restricted choice, which we do, but it doesn't feel like it when you log onto your website and shop for candy. So it's an experience that we don't get often.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
What was it like just being an allergy parent for you?
So it was again a learning experience initially, and then once we learned about it, I mean, I don't think we ever got any pushback from any of the schools or groups that Tanner joined or was involved with. We live in a very small community up in northern Vermont in the Lake Champlain Islands, and I think the 5 counties together, I think there's 5,000 people, and it's 5 towns. So each one has a little tiny school, and we were the first ones that we knew of to be parents or having a child go through the school system where Tanner went through K through 8. And they were really good. They gave us time at each in-service every year to do the epinephrine training and kind of go over the plan. And, they were good about moving his little medical bag between classrooms if he had to move. It wasn't long until he was able to carry that between classrooms. So we had a really good experience without pushback. I know I've heard horror stories of the school refusing, to do stuff, and that's just crazy, but I guess it can happen. So
It is.
We were fortunate. So he's still allergic to peanuts. He actually buys certain brands that he's learned to trust over the years. He's definitely a label reader, and he checks out websites, and he, calls consumer lines as well when there's real question. But he does find an array of products that are tasty and good and suitable for his allergy. There's a couple of subscription services that he uses now that you can put your allergies in there and they'll just make sure that everything they send you is, kind of excluding those that you can't have. So there's definitely more product and more variety and more choice, right, than there was when we first started and when you first probably even started with your child navigating this world.
And it's surprising, obviously I'm a little ways behind you in terms of going through the process, but it's shocking to me to hear that he was the first one and that there weren't others, but I forget how rapidly they're growing, how quickly it's increasing.
Yeah. I think that diagnosis of peanut allergies has more than tripled.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a growing issue, a problem.
It's encouraging for all of us whose kids are still younger to be reminded, not that we don't know, but he grew up, he became an adult, he's doing well, he's healthy and well.
I mean, he went to college in Boston, so he was away for 4.5 years and then lived in Boston after that and lived in London for 5 years and is back in the US now, but he's traveled and worked and experienced. It doesn't have to slow you down at all.
Well, on that note, watching him grow up, I always ask everyone, can you say anything? What's a positive? What's a bonus or a good thing about food allergies?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there's worse things kids could get. And then the other thing is, I think it makes them realize that not everybody could just eat everything. And even though people may have different allergies or things that they can and can't eat, understanding it from your point of view and saying, oh, I got this. Let me help you ask this question. I don't wish it on anybody, but he has done well and thrived.
That's great to hear. Well, we're all thankful for what came of his allergies. Can you tell everybody where they can find Vermont Nut Free?
Yeah, so our website is www.vermontnutfree.com, and Vermont is all spelled out. We are available in many retailers, but a few SKUs here and there. We have a store locator page on our website as well. And you could type in where you live and or the city or zip and it can show you the closest stores. We do mail order all over the country and actually into Canada and some of the European countries as well. We have some regular customers. So we can get product to you no matter where you live.
I know one concern that people have mentioned is how do you ship chocolate to hot places in warm weather months?
Yeah, so we use styrofoam shipping containers with ice packs, and then we just make sure that the shipping level is within 1 to 3 days. I want to do a 5-day across the country UPS ground right to California from Vermont in July. So we just got to make sure that we're watching the weather and adding those warm weather shipping containers when needed.
Is there anything that we didn't get to or that you want to mention?
Just again, we've got a dedicated team of workers that work super hard every day to, make sure that the products are safe and delicious. And it's not just Gail in the kitchen anymore. It's a whole team of people. So
is Gail still in the kitchen at all?
She does product formulations and flyer designs and works with our sales and marketing coordinator on packaging and new launches and things like that, but mostly remotely. I'm in the building every day, kind of running operations, and they got 38 people now working for us. So it's a little different than when I think we had 2 people coming to our house when we decided it was time to move to a bigger space. But 3 buildings later, we've got a great team of hardworking people who really believe in us and what we do for our customers. So it's a nice combination.
Well, thank you. Thank you to all of them and to you and to Gail, because it seems like it's a small thing that's such a big thing that exists for us as an option. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda, for inviting me on and letting me tell the story a little.
And here are your 3 action steps that you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, if peanut, tree nut, sesame, coconut, and egg-free treats are safe for you and you're as hungry as I am after talking about chocolate, go to vermontnutfree.com. You can shop online. You can find the store locator to find a place where you can shop near you. Number 2, if that doesn't work for your allergens, take a minute to find something that does. I'm sharing the link in the notes to snacksafely.com. If there are any of you out there who don't know about them yet, you should. You can read on their website about the links that they go to research and get information from food manufacturers and different brands to determine which items are safe for the top 9 allergens. So you can find that at snacksafely.com and click on their Safe Snack Guide. And number 3, continue building and strengthening your support network and letting yourself lean on the people who want to help you and be there for you by sharing this information. Share this episode, share the Vermont Nut Free website, share a Snack Safely guide, or even just a specific brand or product with the people who love you and want to buy you a treat once in a while, who want to be able to show up and bring something that you can eat. Make it easier for people to be there for you and support you and understand what your needs are. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any questions about your own medical experience or mental health needs, please consult a professional. I'm Dr. Amanda Whitehouse. Thanks for joining me. And until we chat again, remember, don't feed the fear.